Hi, I'm Jequrey Slaton, producer of the feature film Boxing. Working on this film has been an honor and a privilege. We have an amazing team of talented creators and will be filming during the late summer, early fall later this year. Our goal is to not only tell stories that we want to see, but to share stories from the Black experience that aren't always featured at the box office. Boxer is about two professional boxers, Kobe Kojak Jackson and Frankie Hanslow. After experiencing traumatic experiences in their lives, they find themselves at a crossroad. Complete strangers brought together through the love and dedication of boxing, they have to decide whether they want to continue to live in the past or open themselves and their hearts to new opportunities for their futures. In order to make this film we've envisioned, we have begun crowdfunding to raise $111,000. The funds raised will not only pay for the cast, crew, equipment, locations, and all the other needs of the project, but it will also go towards editing, film festival submissions, and everything we need to bring this film to the masses. We are taking pledges for the crowdfunding. Visit boxerthemovie.com for more information on how to pledge or links to the crowdfunding campaign. Once again, visit boxerthemovie.com for more information. On behalf of the Boxer team and K-Mac Productions, thank you, and keep supporting creatives of color.
Hi, y'all. What's up? I am Katie Mack.
And I'm Jequrey Slaton.
Welcome to Boxer the Movie Podcast. We are so excited about this week's episode.
Yep, Boxer is a feature film written, directed, and starring my co-host, Miss Katie Mack.
Chad is not only the co-host of this podcast, he's also a producer extraordinaire. He is a producer extraordinaire for the film.
And every week we dig into what it's like working in Hollywood as an indie filmmaker.
And we talk to our amazing cast and crew about their journey in the film industry.
Today, we're talking with Jequrey Slaton, who plays Mike Goody in the feature film Boxing.
We are going to talk to Jequrey and about Jequrey and his road to becoming an actor.
You're not going to want to miss this one, y'all. Welcome to Box of the Movie Podcast.
Hi, Jared.
Hi, Katie.
Alright, so what's going on with you? You good this week? How you feeling? You feeling tired? You feeling, motivated, energized? What?
Shit. Excuse me.
What's happening?
I go. Come on now.
Don't put married.
I feel like I go through all of those all at the same time, at least 3 times a day.
Man, that's
But yeah, the crowdfunding, y'all, crowdfunding stretches you in a way that you don't realize until you're in the thick of it.
Yeah,
but it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job, and you always feel like you always gotta pivot if something's not working.
You need a team. You need a team.
You need a team.
You need to have very good mental stamina. Mine is hanging on by a thread, guys. I just want y'all to know that. Basically, your highs and lows. Jared is laughing because he knows we are all hanging on by a thread. Okay?
But we here, y'all. We here. We still in it. We still pushing. There's highs and lows. And it's not, it's not always just about raising money. It's about getting people excited about your idea. But it is hard. But we do have to trust the process.
Woo! That trust is that's a hell of a drug, huh?
That process is a process.
Yeah, man. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say to any filmmaker who is thinking about crowdfunding, I want you to think real long and good about it, okay? I want you to make sure there are no other options, okay? Because once you start it, there is really, an option of giving the money back really isn't an option. if you don't hit your goal. You got to make some shit shake. You have to make it work. So with that being said, crowdfunding is always a good way to go, but the mental fortitude that you need to have for it and the willingness to every day ask for money is something that is a
day
very
in
hard.
and day out.
Right, you know? Like all day, all
like when
night.
you say full-time job, we mean full-time with overtime.
No, this ain't no 40-hour week, honey.
Right, no weekends, no weekends off.
Like
it's every day, 7 days a week.
Whew, yeah, on that note. So, what keeps you motivated during this whole, process of wanting to make Boxer, to continue crowdfunding for the next couple weeks as we wind down on the campaign? What keeps you going, yo?
I mean, Boxer was an amazing project. It's a story that deserves to be told. Y'all know Katie could have just been like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and sell this to this person or that person, this network, that network, whatever. But that takes a while, you got to go shop it around. You got to go pitch it and all of that. But this story needs to be told now. And also not everybody sees creatives of color or, people of color for that matter in the way that we want to see ourselves or that we see ourselves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us get overlooked. Mm-hmm. And so taking crowdfunding allows you to take control and greenlight your own project, mm-hmm. greenlight your own story. So that you don't have to worry about all of the restrictions and all of the blinders that someone else may have on and say no to your project. So yeah, that's what keeps me motivated. The fact that we will have control of telling this story. We'll win. We'll succeed at telling this story despite the challenges. We got to make this project.
Yeah, it's gonna get made. I think that the thing I struggle with is, I had this timeline in my mind. You can't tell me that we were not going to be back on set beginning of September. What I realized, that is in 4 weeks. So that is in 4 weeks, y'all. So
that cackle.
So this is the thing about crowdfunding. It pushes your boundaries, right? It really pushes your mental boundaries, your emotional boundaries, and all of the things. But
that shit creeps into your life, like your personal life. Like
it takes over. It takes over. Yeah. And, one of my AD, Melissa Myers, said to me, she said, Katie Mack, this movie is going to get made. And the things that you don't have to worry about with this movie is your cast and crew, because we riding. Now, whether or not we are back on set September, October, or November, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen this year. And you know what? That made me feel good. She managed to get in and kind of calm me down for a little bit. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. So, yeah, it's a flying here, and I'm going to lose my shit. Sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
For those of you that don't know, Katie Mack hates flies.
I hate all bugs.
Right now, she's on Zoom with her chocleta in her hand, and
I'm gonna get it.
She's gonna get the fly. But y'all, if you don't know, we are raising $111,000. That's 111. She got it. I hope. That's $111,000. Please, y'all, donate what you can. Every single dollar counts. It all adds up. You guys will be providing dozens of jobs to our cast and crew of color. If you go on our Indiegogo campaign, go to boxofthemovie.com, click on crowdfunding, and it'll bring our Indiegogo campaign right up. Or you can go to our Instagram or Twitter bios and click on the link in our bio, and it'll take you to our Indiegogo. But once you get there, you'll be able to see some perks. We got some perks. We got some upcoming events that you can get tickets to. You can sponsor a line item. If you email us, we'll send you a direct link to sponsor line items for the movie itself. If you want to sponsor a day of lunch, dinner, breakfast, if you want to sponsor a day of makeup, you want to sponsor a day of insurance, you want to sponsor a day for us to get the camera, the lenses, we'll send all that to you. So please email us at boxerfeaturefilm@gmail.com and we'll send that right over to you. Another one of the perks is a T-shirt. You can get an official boxer T-shirt. And we have a bunch of other amazing perks that you can get just for donating to this film and helping us make this movie.
Mm-hmm. So, on that note, I am going to use that as a segue to get into why we are here today.
What we got this week?
We have Mr. Jequrey Slaton, and he's amazing. But let me get into why he's amazing, okay? He was born October 28th, 1990 in your hometown, New Jersey. Well, your home state, because I don't know what part. There he cultivated his interests in both sports and the performing arts. He briefly studied theater at DeSales. Is that how you say it? DeSales University before pursuing and completing the 2-year conservatory at the William Esper Studio with Suzanne Esper and then with Terry Knickerbocker in NYC. Fun fact, that's where I met Jequrey, and we both went to Esper. Prior and during his studies, Jequrey worked professionally in commercials and equity performances, leading to a focus toward TV and film. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jequrey Slaton to the show. Hi, Jequrey. How are you today?
What up, Jequrey? What's going on, Jared? How you feeling?
Well, hanging in there. I feel good. I feel like I haven't really seen your face like in real life in a really long time. So it's good to see you.
Likewise.
Good to see you.
You too.
Go ahead, Jerry. I'll let you do the honors. Let's get into it. No, you want me to do it? Cool. Okay, so let's start.
All right, hold on. Katie.
Dang.
You're purple, Katie. So you just go right into it.
Okay, fine. Okay, so let's start.
Takesha, you want us to start over?
Hey, that would be awesome.
Okay,
that would
Katie.
Be awesome.
Sorry, Jequrey. We do this every week. Katie thinks I'm purple, so she's actually purple. I'm blue. You would think.
It's all good. And 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Jequrey.
Katie.
Oh man, what's up, Jequrey? How you doing?
What's going on, Jared? How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm good.
I'm laughing, y'all, because this is take 2. I keep fucking up. It happens every single time we do this, and it's fine. But we're gonna jump right in. All right, Jequrey. So good to see you. And
likewise.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. Fun fact about Jequrey before I even get started. I met Jequrey in a master class, an acting class out in Brooklyn held by Terry Knickerbocker the Great. And, I wasn't paired with Jequrey for my scene in that class, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching his scene go from 0 to 100 over the course of a few weeks in this master class. And, I said to myself, I'm going to put him in my book. I want to work with him. I don't know how, when, where, and on what, but here we are. He's on the Boxer podcast, which means he's a part of Boxer. But, fun fact,
matter of fact, I saw your partner maybe 2 weeks ago in the street in Chelsea.
Who's my partner?
Your partner? Excuse me, your partner from
class?
From class, yeah. I saw him. We had a very funny interaction, to be honest. But
did he recognize you?
Yeah, he recognized me. Yeah. I'll tell you about that interaction after.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Cool. All right, so boom, let's start with the horror film that you starred in called The Quiet. It was so eerie.
No. Oh, thanks for saying that.
What was it like to star in a horror movie? Was that your first?
Yeah, that was dope. That was actually really, really dope.
Thank you. That was my first of a couple things. My first horror, but also my first like principal like lead about the character, about my character, which was like super humbling. The process though, it was interesting because the references the director like sent to me were of like people who were like lone wolves, like people who just walk through life in solitude. And that resonated with me, but and it was fun to explore. I also appreciated that. And I remember like when I read for it and then when I booked it, I thought like, of course you booked this because it's like sullen, it's emotionless, and like it's like he gets to a place where he's very sad, and it was emotion like but this like hidden emotion that needs to be shown only through like the watering of your eyes and like not dropping a tear. And that was actually, I was really appreciative of getting that experience to go to a place that was dark and to see what that felt like. Live in that character. So it was a good experience. Yeah, it was a good experience.
Oh, that's so dope. Jared, you look like you're thinking hard over there.
So your acting journey, I know you said that was your first like really like lead role where you're carrying the film, but tell us about your acting journey. Like where did it all begin for you?
Yeah. I was really blessed to have parents who really pushed anything I did artistically and creatively. If I wanted to play it out, they supported me really hard. And I actually got to give it up to my dad, to be honest, because I was mainly raised by him. And like, we had one of those, I feel like in almost every black household, you had that one wall was full of mirrors. That one wall is like,
we all had that one point in time.
Yeah, right. And so like we had that, and I would be in the mirror and I have a little sister, and I would start either directing her to do something. We have the capes on, we pretend getting married up to this point where we're supposed to kiss the bride, where I end up like, being the terrible older brother and be like, nah, I ain't doing that. And then she start crying out of nowhere and giving her psychological issues. But like, I've always been like about like performance. So my parents were all about it. And then when I got to high school, I never really did anything about like plays or anything, but I was seeing this girl, and she was a dancer. She's like, you need to do play. And so then I was like, all right, I do the play with you because like, I might do little moves. And so we did West Side Story, and I was like a part of the ensemble. And then at the high school I went to, the performing arts was pretty big. So the next 3 years, I was the lead of the play. Like after freshman year, when I was on ensemble, I became the lead. So then it kind of made it just enlightened me like it was a lot of things about this that I really liked. The first time I remember acting was like junior year, and I like tapped in, and I tapped into this thing. It's called Kiss Me Kate. It was this musical, but it was based on this like Shakespearean play, and I thought, I was like, oh my God, like, because there was so much dialogue and less music, I ended up like loving how much like I could emote through dialogue. And then I ended up wanting to go to college for it. So I went to college for theater until my junior year of college, and I dropped out, and I was like, wait. I kind of want to learn how to act. I didn't want to just learn about the history. I wanted to act. So I like ran away with my book bag. And,
you ran away.
Ran away with my book bag, and like I think it was about like $280 in my pocket. Came to New York and just like slept on mad couches, and was blessed with a scholarship, which you don't really do. I did this like J-Lo thing. I cleaned toilets and all. That's really what I did. I did was like I cleaned toilets for William Esper Studio, and they like let me rock. And then through Esper I met Terry, and through Esper I met Terry Knickerbocker, and that's how I met Katie. And like work-wise, it's been has been an interesting journey. This year has been like my best year. Like I got, and it feels like I'm just starting. Like it was like I've been doing this, but like this year was like, oh, now you at the tape, like and the opportunities that has been presented to me, or what I bagged or whatnot. So it's been It's been a journey. I feel really blessed and highly favored. That's really what it is.
Wow, yeah, that's dope. What do you think is the most important part of the whole acting process for you?
I realized that I have to remember you're playing. What's the most important? Actually, that's a good question. Because there are a lot of important things that I'm realizing are important to me. One of which is like being prepared. Like I've noticed that I need to. I want to take this as an example. This is a piece out of the biggest, like, out of the puzzle where, like, you know, you're doing self tapes, right? I realized, like, I have to, like, pick, like, self tape partners who are down to, like, muddle through this shit with me for, like, whatever we're going to do, and vice versa. I'm going to muddle through this with you. If you tell me you have, like, an hour, like, this is not going to get done, because I want to make sure that we paint the whole picture. Everything I see in, like, the scene directions and whatnot, I have this thing that I'm like, you have to remember as an actor to paint that picture too. So if it's like dark outside, you know, I want to feel and see that you are in the dark. And like, that means, you know, you might not be able to read your sides. You have to like work that in like over and over and recognize that like you might be squinting right now. Like you in that dark, you really can't see. How is casting going to see that you can't see and you're in the dark? So I like to remind myself to, like, throughout the scene, just be like, all right, even though this is not dialogue, this is very important for me as the actor to be able to paint this whole mosaic and make sure it's colorful and it's alive. That's something that's super important to me, making sure I paint the picture.
That's dope. That, you know, it's really important to start the work before you actually get the work. You know, that is the work.
That is the work. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just like realized that I know when you just know when I'm really bad about, I'm the hardest critic on myself. Like I will stop a scene if I'm like for taping purposes, but not like on a job. But like I would like stop a scene, like we got to do it over again. Like because I could tell that I forgot that there are 3 other homies standing over there, that I just my eye didn't really look over there to acknowledge that there are 3 other homies over there standing there. It's written not in the dialogue, but in the scene directions. And I want to make sure I acknowledge that. So I will go through the script over and over and over again to figure out like, what didn't you acknowledge right now? Because I want to make sure that the people on the other side see that I have taken into account everything the writers have written down. So it's really important. Yeah, you really don't. Yeah, the work is the audition, I think. Like, you know what I mean? Because once you get the job, like you really, now it's like, let's play.
Right. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I like that you are very cognizant of where you are in character. You're cognizant enough to catch what you missed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
There's a lot of actors that might just let it fly, but, you know, there's something to be said for the artist that knows, you know what I'm saying, his layers, knows the beats, knows what he hit, what he didn't hit. So I'm listening to you. I've seen you work, you know. So, like, Jared, fun fact about Jequrey is when he's working, like when he's working the scene, you know, it's almost as if you can see kind of like the gears turning in his brain. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, it's very subtle. Like I see it probably just because I direct, but it wasn't obvious that he was thinking about what his next line was or anything like that. But I kind of got the sense that like he's 2 steps ahead of himself, trying to make sure that he's where he needs to be for the upcoming beats, if that makes any sense. So, you know, it was always fun to watch you, and it was always, I'd be like, all right, just let them go first. In my mind, I'm like, you can't go first so I can watch. But, you know, I think that's super dope, and it's super inspiring even to me, because even hearing you saying that, it's just like, oof, now I know what to expect on my set. You know what I'm saying? So enough about that. We all know that. You're welcome. Acting is is amazing. That's why we're all here, right? But the work of finding the next gig can be difficult. I know that you said that this past year has been a very good year to you, but I know that you've been there where you've heard more no's than anything. So, my question to you is, how do you stay motivated, in between gigs? What?
I was about to be like, nigga.
Right, because that's how we all feel. Exactly like
that.
I literally hit my manager up the other day, like maybe like 3 weeks ago. I was like as if it was their fault. Like I was like, the loud holds happening right now.
What's up, bro? Like
I'm on hold a lot, but like, and you have to remember, like, okay, to answer this question, like honestly, all right. There are a few awesome series that in this past year I've been seeing 6 times for this one Hulu show, right? And like by the 4th time I was like, all right, y'all, come on now, y'all playing. You know what I'm saying? And then I had this HBO, I got, cause it was big to me. Like I had this HBO show that has called me in 4 times. And so I'm like, this mine, like this one definitely mine, and that's, you look at it less about like what's mine and what's not, but now what keeps me motivated is knowing that like whatever performance I'm creating is making them on the other side call me in multiple times for this show. They want to see like, okay, where to place you, and kind of remind myself about that more often than not. Like, okay, like don't get discouraged because like, it might have maybe like, yeah, you haven't booked this series yet, whatever, but like they're trying to place you in this. They're not just trying to place you in this like guest star. They're trying to place you, see if you're in this series regular or this recurring, and they're doing it. And that started to make me feel positive because, like you're not meeting people right now. You're not like going in a room for an audition. I'm sending tapes and like to see and understand that this casting, this is how we build relationships right now. Like this casting is like enjoying my performances. They would have stopped calling me in a long time ago if they didn't like the way I performed this character or whatever. So now it's about placement and that's another thing too. Like a lot of this about image, and like you don't want to take that personally. Like, do you fit? Do you look? Are you tall enough? Are you this? Like, and it's like if I don't take that into account, I can get really negative, because I am human and I am human. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I don't take it, I'm like, wow, like I'll be like, yo, I do everything into that performance. Like, what the fuck? And the scene that you're like, nah, like, and you see who booked, like, you're like, oh, well. I was like, oh, like that wasn't for me. That wasn't for me. And reminding myself that what's for me will be for me. So that's how I try to stay motivated. But then I do go to therapy a lot, which is I used to be so embarrassed to talk about acting with my therapist because I think of it sometimes as a highfalutin thing, because a lot of people don't understand like what you actually like, like my sister, she was like, she's been going through it, not to take away from her experience, but she's been going through it to find a job in her field. And she was like, I had 5 interviews in the last 5 months. And I'm thinking, you should be an actor. And she was like, why you say that? I said, I had 5 takes today and I don't find out if I got the job or not, if I didn't get the job until I turn on that fucking TV. And it's like, wow, I guess I didn't get that job, And so you talking about rejection? Like,
hey,
I gave her that because she to get her to be like, look, like, I deal with a lot of rejection, and it will get me into a lot of, it'll get me into a lot of like, if I stay, down, I will venture into bad habits that God already pulled me out of. So like, I have to remind myself to like, this is what it is. It's high risk, high reward. And remind yourself of that. Like, Jequrey, it's high risk, high reward. You love that shit. Like, I love high risk, high reward stuff. Adrenaline. The whole business gives me life. Adrenaline. That's how I stay grounded.
Yeah, that's really, it's really important to have those principles like instilled within yourself, because like you said, you can get really lost in all of that stuff if you don't remember that. Okay, yeah, what's for me is for me. They're continuously calling me in. They obviously like me. I'm building a relationship with this casting director, these producers, this director. They like me, so when it's my time, it's my time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we'll talk about a project that you are booked on. We'll talk about boxing a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Mike Goody, who you play in Boxer, and also what made you decide to be a part of this project?
Katie. like Katie, but not just that, because this project is like I mentioned, I've been in therapy for the last 7 years, and it's amazing to be a part of like a project that is Black led and and talks about mental health and the awareness of it. And, obviously like the vehicle in which like that is like talked about, like is specific to all different types of projects. But like this one particularly, like I also box. Like I love to box. I also see it as a great outlet to get some of my, like, like even to answer a question, like one of your previous questions, like, that's another way I stay grounded. Like I can get really, I can be very explosive. Like I have a hold on it, but like it's something will get me to be like super explosive. And then I realize like boxing is a great outlet for me to get that out and not like, do that in like a random like moment. Which, to be honest, like I have done and be like, oh, my bad. I realize I scared somebody. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't mean to do that. But the boxing helps with that. And like, Mike, in the grand scheme of things, Mike is like the first character I have who is like light and like like a flirt and like is like is more about like just a dude. He doesn't have like all these other layers of like this hurt, this pain and this stuff. Which can be like built and like discovered and developed, but like it's good to like bring life. Like sometimes it's hard for me to like look at characters like Mike and be like, oh, like there's no like anguish and there's no this and there's no that, even if he has like 3 lines, there's no this, where you're just like, yo, like this person is real too. And, that's one of the things I like about it. We have this like whole flirt moment and he's a gym head. He's also, training, which is also cool. So that means he's in development. And I really love that idea of always being in development and growing. And, I'm just I'm about to ask you a question that has nothing to do, it has very much to do with Mike, but then has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. Did you end up hitting up any of the trainers that
oh, that's a question for Jared.
Put on, because I was like, that's gonna be fun. Only reason why I say that is because like I have like great combos that we can play around with. And I was like, I got some combos.
Yeah, no. Like, we're definitely considering him, and that's what I was telling Katie. I was like, or when you asked me, because I know you work with 2 different people, and you were like, yeah, but I have this one that I have really, really great chemistry with, and I'm like, yeah, that one. Give me that one's information, because we wanted to look, I wanted to make sure
it was like authentic to the piece.
Yeah.
I can make chemistry. Really it's combos. It's just like really, but like there's times where I recognize I'm like, because Katie, I'm sure you feel this now. Like when you're in like when you're in a good combo. Oh, wow. Actually, do you remember, did you go to Esper too?
Yeah.
So Lath, right?
Yeah, of course. He's on everything right now.
Yeah. All right. So I remember I was talking to him. I first started boxing like when I was like in Esper. So it was like literally like 6 years ago or something like that. Yeah. So like I remember talking to him about it. And like I remember letting him know, because I was like, oh, boxing. He was like, like that's great for acting, right? And I was like, I never thought about it. It's because like you think about the actor and the target. And I'm like, I didn't recognize how much like when I first started boxing, I think I explained this to you one time before. When I first started boxing, I was so afraid of the other person. Meaning, like I had so much like mistrust for like they're always gonna. This is probably how I think about life, to be honest. Like it's like this mistrust, like they're always gonna like try to outmaneuver you or something and like do something that you weren't looking about. So I was staring at the person's eyes. And at one point, I ended up staring at their cage, like right here, where my target actually was, instead of always being on their face. Like, I was throwing, prior to that, I was throwing punches that are supposed to land in your like cage, but I was looking at your eyes. Instead of that, I dropped my focus down to the cage, and I recognized that I was in so much flow. Like I was like, my chemistry was just different. Like the way I was, the fluidity of my movements and like the stamina that I had was different. Like I felt like mental flow kick in. And that's another thing where I feel like it's an interesting parallel with this project, not so much for, maybe more so for Steven's character, but like not so much mine. But I think there's like an umbrella statement here about like, connecting like mental flow with boxing, because boxing is such a, once you're in it, you just really like, you're like, oh wow, because I've started sparring more often. So now I look at it, I'm like, wow, like this is nothing but a damn exercise. Like, and I'm playing chess while I'm moving, and it's just so much to think about at once. But once you have all those components and gears working at the same time, it feels like magic. And that's really the same feeling I get when I'm trying to create this mosaic of this character or this the side that I'm trying to work on. It's like once everything is working, everything works. And I think that's what I mean on a greater scale, because like Mike might not be that complicated, but I would love to bring all that to like Mike too, just to make him a real human being.
I think you absolutely should. I'm never going to ask you, so what did you create for Mike? I'm not going to ask you that, because I'll be able to tell when it's time to, when it's time to shoot. But I absolutely can relate to that when you speak of getting in the flow and everything's clicking when you boxing, because when I first started, I was I just tried to, I wanted to be perfect. I wanted every hit to land. I wanted to get the technique. I wanted to get the form right. And my trainer would be like, Katie, you got to stop thinking so much. Less think and more do. So it took me a few months to get to that place of being able to flow, but being in a combo. And when you said that you dropped your gaze from their eyes to their cage, that was like very pivotal for me, because if I'm looking at their eyes, they can do something I might not see coming. But if I'm looking at their cage, I can see whatever they're trying to do. So it was easy for me to kind of defend myself or do whatever I need to do to get out of it. But boxing is very cathartic, I guess. And I went too hard because I kept hurting myself. I kept injuring myself because I just wanted to. But like you said earlier, we're our own worst critics. I am a super terrible critic on myself, and I'm trying to let go of that. But I think that where I'm at mentally boxing, I'll be fine for what we're doing with this movie. But I absolutely invite you to bring different, pieces of Mike to it, because it's only going to make him better. It's as light as he is, as much as a star that he is, and that's, I was going through the script and I was just like, yeah, Mike is here, he's here. But I kept reading it. And I was just like, no, there's something missing. Like I need more from him. I got to give him some more layers. I know Jequrey boxes. I want to see that, after seeing you, like whenever you post like your boxing sessions and your stories, I'm like, I got to utilize this. You know what I mean? So, and it makes sense for what we're doing, but I am really excited to work alongside you in those scenes. And I knew that a lot of the things that we touch on in Boxers is relatively serious. And I think that you definitely bring a little bit of comic relief to, the story. And I think the way it was written is nice.
I appreciate that. I was like, oh, someone trusts me to do something. I always think like, I'm never going to book something funny. Like, I always get into my head, like, when are they going to trust me to do? I think I'm hilarious. Like, the hell, like,
I agree.
But I really appreciate that because, I don't know, I'm just excited. Like, there's an excitement to, like, just be, just like, yo, like, just a little, just a little bounce. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's, also something that you just said, like, kind of remind me, especially about boxing, is like, you might know visually, like, what the technique is supposed to look like, when we watch boxers and watch fights and stuff like that, you're like, oh, that was a good slip, or, oh, that was, you know what I mean? Like a good roll into like a hook or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, our bodies have to go through so much manipulation in order to be able to discern if it's right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you get to this thing, like, you're like, and it's the same thing with acting. Like, I feel like, you don't really become your best actors until you like later on in life, really, because you have to have all this experience to be able to discern if this is like on the mark or not. So I've been feeling that lately with I guess acting as well, but like definitely with boxing, where I'm like, this feels better. Like this, certain moves, like this feels better. Now I understand because, I'm, not, I'm planted when or I'm not on the balls of my toes, or like I'm using the torque from my waist instead of like trying to extend with this. And you like realize like, oh, I would not have known to do that if I haven't been doing it for so long. You know what I mean?
I love that you said that. Oh my God. It feels so nice to talk to someone that's also boxing. Like, yes, that's what I be thinking about too. But yeah, because they can tell you what to do. They can tell it to you so they can't tell you anymore.
Exactly.
But until it starts to make sense in your body is when you'll really understand it. But I'll use that as a good segue into you mentioned how beneficial therapy has been for you. That's one thing that Terry always talks about when I was in his 2-year course at Esper was, therapy is important. You might not understand why I'm saying it now, but you will. And I was in therapy back then, so I understood. But I'm curious to know what other well, let me rephrase that. Mental health is very important to you now. I would say, do you see where therapy could have benefited you before you got into therapy? If y'all could see these faces.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm proud of how I initiated it because it was also brought to me. It was brought to me a couple of times by a professor, an acting professor, and then someone at Esper who brought it up to me. But I realized, because what I was wanting from, we all do this as like kids, I guess. I was putting my parents on this crazy like pedestal, like, like just of like an example of like, and plus I was like struggling in New York, and I was, like someone pay attention to me, like all that. And I realized that I just didn't have the tools. I was 22, and when I realized, and God bless, because I was still 20. I was young enough to like be on my parents' like insurance, so like that was a huge blessing. But I was 22, and I realized like, and this is before. That's what I'm saying. This is before the whole mental health kick. Like before anyone was like, there was like Black male mental health or any of these pages or anything like that. Whereas I felt so much like I'm missing the tools to really go on to the next part of my life. I don't know what, I know I'm missing some shit. And I'm telling you, like, I learned integrity through my therapist. I just didn't understand, like, I understood the word, I knew the word, whatever. I just didn't understand the depth of integrity. And that was passed down generationally. So, like, I remember being like, I need to make a change on certain things, like, and I'm just happy that I caught it at 22 and, like, by myself when I was still getting teased for doing it. You know what I mean? Like, from from the nuclear family being like, oh, well, don't, it wasn't my fault. I'm like, relax. You know what I mean? And to like, we've talked about, she'd be okay for me to say this, but like my mom is 62 years old and she just started therapy. which has made, like, first off, I've given her props because, like, imagine being 62 years old and having to face all of that, whatever. And then two, and then two, it has, because everybody thinks, like, Jequrey, I didn't know that because of this and because of that it had this type of impact. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, like I've been trying to tell you, but every time I tell you, you have this crazy reaction on me. But but like you have to go through that. Yeah. But it allows us to even, now I learned so much about myself because of it. I don't know, I guess to answer your question, like, yeah, my life would have been 10 times better if if I have children, like y'all 12, y'all starting at 12, like I'm like, yo, like talk to somebody, like, right. But like I don't know. I love therapy. I really do. I have taken breaks. Like I've been in group therapy, which I think is like great for actors because you really understand how to relate to other people. Like, and how they, there's some shit that I hear and I'll be like, and they're like, oh, Jequrey, you got something to say? Yeah, matter of fact, I do. I got something to say. And know that it's like safe space to do that. Yeah. Or, taking on someone else's like pain and realizing you can leave it in the room. But I have taken a break because I'll be like, okay, this dynamic is this or this dynamic is that. I need to like see what's good for me. But I don't know. I recommend it for everybody, especially if you're Black. Not because like I put that up one time and this person said to me, they're like, this person was like, he was kind, but like he was, I had to do that to check him because I produced this like scene about therapy with a white therapist, which I had. So like, I was just saying like how, Black men specifically, like, I guess I was just alluding to like how important it is for us to be in therapy. And this gent was like, the great posts, whatever, but shouldn't mental health be like, all encompassing and cover everybody? I'm like, for very sure. Like, this was before the, like last summer, but like, I was like, sure, like, of course, but like, if I get to when I see people who look like me get traumatized every day by the system, the world, whatever, like either I'm like kind of like, some of it's starting to be not jarring to me, and that's not right. So like I encourage any person of color to please like get yourself to talk to somebody, and like whoever you're comfortable with. And I, like I said, I had a white therapist who actually, because finding Black therapists was a hard thing for me when I was like younger, and especially under like the plan that I had and all that. So I started working with this person, and he never skirted around the tough questions that I was trying to avoid just because he was white. There would be questions that I didn't want to talk about my experience because he was a white man, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that shit. But then he started asking these tough questions. He's like, well, you're not talking to me because I'm white? And I was like, well, yeah. And then having to loosen up, and then he's come to my aid in a way where if I would talk about something, he would be like, yeah, and that, but compounded with the fact that you're Black and male, like we have to take that in consideration. And I'm like, you're right, like that's so amazing. And he's done a lot of work outside of me. He has like a mentor who's Black. He goes to them to see what is appropriate to work with me, like what's the right thing to say, like what are ways that he can approach and help me in ways that are not toxic, or where I don't know, especially with the group. Like the group was another thing where we used to try to find minorities to come into the group, and it's just they would come for a week and they'd be like, nah, like whatever, and I'd be like, I thought once again I'm the only one where I remember I had to tell them when I left, like I left for about like 7 months from the group, and I said like I got to limit the amount of white influences I have in my life, and they were like, what the fuck, like show us, teach us. I was like, not doing that.
Nah,
but my therapist, you gotta do your
my
own
job, bro. Like,
exactly. But my therapist he was like, Jequrey needs to do this. You have to step away. Like, and that was what it. I was like, oh, bro, like, I give it to him. I say it all the time. He's like kingmaker. He just really always be like reminding me, like, first and foremost, you're black. And I'm like, bet. Thank you, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So there's so many reasons therapy is like really, really has benefited my life. I wouldn't be able to communicate with you like this if it wasn't for any therapy.
Wow. Yeah, no, I really appreciate him doing the work as a white man, actually going and, having somebody to mentor him on how to operate and how to speak to you and just tries to relate as much as he can to you.
As you can. And be honest that he can't in many areas.
Right. So when you take these breaks, and I mean, I guess even in just, even if you're not on break, how do you practice your own self-care?
Damn, guys, because I was like, I just want to be honest with you guys and be like, all right, let's see, like, my therapist will go on a break. He'll go on his little vacations. And he'll be like, okay, I'm going for the month. I'm like,
hey, bro, take me with you.
So then I'm like, all right. So then the first 2 weeks will be good. And I'm like proud of myself for not, like I said, falling into habits that like God pulled me out of. And then the next week I'm like, okay, like, all right. What I realized right before the pandemic, when I started to get into, I started going to this meditation center. And that was something I started realizing I want to get back into. I'm right now trying to find, because this is a good question to ask, is like I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm finding new, I'm finding new things to put into my constitution. Like making sure that reminding myself what I will put up with and what I won't put up with. Making sure that my boundaries are like they're sturdy, but they're also porous, where I can omit energy and receive energy. Because I have a hard time, like, if someone wants to show care, like, I'm like, why? Like, what? Like, whatever. So, like, trying to make sure that I have porous boundaries. I realize I have to be outside. I am an adrenaline person. Like, I guess, like, this is not the most, like, typical, like, self-care stuff, but I just like to do things that are, like, I need to feel, man, I'm being real honest with you guys. I'm like,
well, I mean, I don't think there's like a typical self-care. There are the things that people say that are similar, but like whatever your self-care, that's personal.
Yeah, like
that's very, very personal.
Like, yeah. I wish I could say, I want to sit here and tell you, there's a part of me that like really wants to sit here and tell you like, yes, and then I go to church and I do this and like, cause like I consider myself Christian, and like but I feel way more spiritual than anything. And that's something I've started to rely on more about my spirituality, remembering that like, to like stay thankful and stay in gratitude, because I think I can I believe I overthink a lot because I'm not reminding myself of what I do have. So I get all freaked out and be like, oh, like, you're not here yet. And I have a lot of also, like, I'm sure we all do, our friends, since we're in the business, like some really close friends who are like killing the game. And you're like I'm happy for them, but then I think like, when
is my turn? When is it going to be my turn?
Exactly. So I'm happy for them. And then reminding myself, like, don't let that outshine how happy you are for them, like, whatever. But like, there are a lot of things that I'm recognizing now that I gotta travel. If I stay in New York for too long, like after like a period of like just not, I gotta travel. And when we do travel, I need to have like an adrenaline activity. Like I need to like do ATVing. I gotta like jump out of a plane. I gotta do something like something that like makes me feel kind of like a baptism and like, you're good, now start over, whatever. But like, I'm very much like, one of my character flaws is I love danger. So like, I'm trying to find healthy ways to like find that, instead of like, finding ways that are immediate, but like kind of like just stupid. But yeah, that's how I find my pillars are very interesting pillars. The things that keep me like sturdy. Like I just need to, race and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yo, I feel like we can easily sit here for another 2 hours and talk to you. I am so fascinated by you right now, Jequrey. And you know, under how we met is how we met. We met in a class, and you know, and then we just kind of kept in touch because of work. But listening to you talk over this last hour has made me feel like, or the thought that came in my mind was like, damn, I wish there was time that I can like hang out with this man to kind of like not pick your brain, but to exchange energy in that way, because a lot of the things
I'm down. I just gotta figure out. I gotta come to the Bronx. I was like, I gotta come to the Bronx.
I mean, everybody hates the Bronx. Jared comes.
It's not that I hate. It's not. It's literally my best friend of 10 years bought property in the Bronx. It took me like 6 months to go visit the damn place. Like I'm like, bruh. I'm in deep Bushwick, like, you know, I'm just like
wow.
Meet me somewhere, like, whatever.
Halfway.
But I'm down to like, yeah, we could always chop it up. I'm no like wall up against that, so like, we can always chop it up. You caught me at 30. This is Jequrey at 30, so.
Guys, yo, I can't. Listen, Ray. I am going to thank you for stopping by, and I feel like this is going to be one of the episodes that I listen to a lot. I didn't want to be rude and be typing notes that you were saying, knowing I could just listen to what you were saying again and again. But you made a lot of good points today, yo, and I just
y'all know how to gas a homie up.
I'm not gassing you. I just, you know, sometimes
this is real. This is real.
This is real. Like, I feel very kind of like rejuvenated. I feel inspired. I feel better than I did. Like, every day I check in on a number scale where I'm at on where's my mental health at on 1 to 10. Before I got on this call, I was at like a 4. I'm easily at like a 6.5 now. So I just want to thank you for that. It's hard.
I appreciate that. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So,
y'all really know.
I can't.
Look, air hugs, yeah. Zoom hugs. Well, thank you, Jequrey at 30. Thank you, Jequrey at 30. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for coming through.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, this has been an amazing episode. Special shout out goes to our guest, Jequrey Slaton, for stopping by. Miss Katie Mack, you got any final thoughts for the people?
I just love Jequrey so much. I think that was just such a really mindful conversation. It was really great. We could have did it for easily another couple of hours. And I have to say, I think my favorite thing about this episode was the random laughter that would escape him. So I just loved it. I loved it so much. It was good. It was good job, Jequrey.
Yeah. So y'all, Box of the Movie Podcast is produced by Shakisha Williams, Katie Mack, and myself, Jared Solomon. You can follow us on social media. We are at Boxer_film on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, make sure to visit our website, boxofthemovie.com, to donate to our crowdfunding campaign. And don't forget to subscribe to get the latest updates. Once again, that's boxofthemovie.com for all things Boxer feature film. Until next time, y'all, peace.